Alright, I am back for the third video. We're discussing chapter 10 in the Moreland book. So there's three questions that were posed. Strengths and weaknesses of Moreland's ideas while developing your own thoughts on improving the health of the church by renewing the life of the mind. Do I agree with Moreland's proposals, and are his proposals plausible and biblical? So, strengths and weaknesses of Moreland's ideas while developing my own thoughts and improving the health of the church by renewing of the mind. Moreland talks about refurbishing the local church, and he poses a few different things. For one, having no senior pastors. I'll explain that in a minute. What the pastoral staff and the elders should be doing, the distinction between the forms and functions of the church. And then he makes some practical suggestions for sermons, church libraries, Sunday school and or study centers, deepening the value of intellectual life and raising the visibility of Christian intellectuals and intellectual work. So strengths and weaknesses with Moreland. I think all these are strengths, honestly. I will say there are a few points where I think there are some weaknesses. So no senior pastors is number one in refurbishing the local church. And what he means by that is the Bible doesn't call for senior pastors, it calls for elders, teachers, pastors, I don't know. There's a whole list, and he lists here. You can find it in Acts 14:23 and 20:28, Philippians 1:1, Hebrews 13:17. I know that these can also be found in Titus and Timothy, what the pastors and elders and all this are supposed to be doing. But nowhere does it ever call for a senior pastor, one person to just take over everything and run the show. The call of the church is to go into all the world and make disciples. So you go in, you preach, you make converts, you disciple those converts so that they can then go out and convert and disciple others, and turn the world upside down. That's how the people did it in the first century. The apostles and disciples at that time. That's how it was done. That's how Christianity spread. So what he's proposing is just getting back to that model. What the pastoral staff and elders should be doing. Well, I just told you. They should be going out and engaging with people, letting them know this is not just some dumb backwoods old, thing that we should believe in. It's true, it's real. They can explain that from not only from Scripture itself, but from science, from history, from mathematics, from what's been known as the humanities, or kids nowadays may call it social studies, or whatever, the different genres of education, I guess you could say. And making discipling those people, teaching them what they know and how to find their own answers, and how to dig in and make more disciples. Distinction between forms and functions. So the form really doesn't matter so much as long as the function doesn't change. And I think Moreland hit it on the head here. He said, edifying believers, worship God, evangelize the lost, and so forth, or like things. And I think those are the functions. I don't think the forms really matter as long as those functions are being done. It's just my take on it. So I think he hit the nail on the head there. Practical suggestions. Overhauling sermons. So what happens is we get into this thing where the pastor just gives us a sermon and we go on about our way. We forget most of it, as soon as we walk out of the building. That's not supposed to happen. You're supposed to study and go over this, and we need to have sermons that are more um, going into the mind rather than just feel good things. Uh, Church library. Not everybody has a huge church library, but that would be helpful. In today's world where there's media and stuff, we could have a couple of people doing some media and make a media library. That would be a good suggestion. People would rather watch it rather than read about it today. Not me, but other people would rather watch a video and say, "Oh, I learned this." Sunday school and study centers, they're more for fun and less for teaching. We have arts and crafts and all this, and we try to blend a little bit of Christian teaching into that. And that's fine. That's good for the younger people, like toddlers and such. But, when you start getting up 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th grade, 9th grade, whatever, I mean, really? People in the first century at those grade levels, I mean, they had full-time jobs and were going out and evangelizing and all this. I mean, you look at it, John the Baptist was the same age as Jesus, 6 months older or whatever, if you go by the time of their birth. And so, I mean, Jesus died at 33. John the Baptist was probably 30, 31, 32, somewhere in there. They always make him look like an old man in those things, like he learned all this over many, many years. We need to engage these older kids. We need to engage their mind with this stuff. Get them to think about it. Get them to ask questions and actually answer their questions. Deepening the intellectual life. Have more intellectuals come in. Have people come in that know what they're talking about, that can discuss it, that can break it down. Have their work there for people that would rather read their work. I got to move on. This video's, boy, there's a lot to talk about. So, the one thing, the weakness is that not a lot of churches have the means to do all of this. But if you can do some of it, you're progressing. So that's a good thing. If you can do some of it, it's normally something like 10 or 20% of the congregation that's doing 100% of the work or 100% of the giving. That's coming from 10, 20% of the congregation. So, I mean, if we could develop and get more people engaged, boom, we got it, Do I agree with Moylan's proposals? Yeah, I absolutely do. I like them. I would say for some churches, we need to, look at our strengths and weaknesses as a congregation and, do what we can do at the time. Are they plausible and biblical? Well, yeah, they're all biblical. Are they plausible? Yeah. I mean, it needs to be planned out, but it can be done. So overall, I'm in agreement with Moreland, but he seems to have worked with congregations and stuff that have the money to be able to do this more more efficiently. Maybe bigger congregations or something. I'm not sure. But, for the smaller congregations, I'd say, sometimes you got to start small. They like to say, well, the church began with 12 people. Actually, it was more like 120, if you read it. And, but they grew in number by 3,000 in one day. So you start small, you start where you can, and you just progress from there. And these things are all great ideas. So I'm in full agreement. Other than you don't want to overexert yourself and do something that you can't do. So start small. Start with what you can do, and that's where I'm gonna leave it. So until the next video, we'll see you later.